Greetings and welcome to another episode of Cute Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. And Sir Daniel, as we wrap this year's Women's History Month, we are about to talk about an artist that I consider one of the coolest women on the planet, bar none.
Absolutely. Cool factor on 1,000. In the conversation about MCs that are hybrids that can both skillfully rap and sing, Neneh Cherry, for whatever reason, is left out of the conversation. And we've known for close to 40 years now that Neneh Cherry is adept at doing both.
Yes.
And we have known of this woman now for, like I said, close to 40 years. And it all started off with a Buffalo stance, right? And J. Ray, she is a product of tons and tons of, I'm sure, reggae music, all kinds of world music, and of course, influences from the United States. And then we get Neneh Cherry coming to the United States for her Virgin Records debut.
Yeah, man. I find Neneh's story so fascinating. And so her mother was from Sweden and her father was from Sierra Leone, her biological father.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was born in Sweden and spent time there, and her mother ended up marrying Don Cherry, famed jazz musician. And what I find so interesting about Neneh's story, and it bleeds into the music, right? To that point, she had a very nomadic childhood. One of my favorite Neneh Cherry stories that she writes about in her book, A Thousand Threads, is that Neneh Cherry and her family were in Istanbul because they were touring there. And at the time, because they used to like tour in a VW bus, so they would just like
As one does.
as one does. And so they would drive around to these different countries and be on tour, jazz musicians on tour. And her mom would be part of the act too. But anyway, they were in Istanbul and they met James Baldwin because James Baldwin was living there at the time.
Wow.
And she tells this great story about James Baldwin just like talking to her and not talking at her like sometimes adults do, and how she remembered how kind he was. But that encapsulates the story of Neneh Cherry. Is she grows up in, there was art at every point in her life. Her mother's an artist, her father, biological father's an artist, her stepfather's an artist. So there was this in her blood, right, from the very beginning. And to that point of the musical side of things, they of course moved to New York. So she spends a bunch of time in New York because Don moves to New York. Neneh goes to London. So she's a teenager, leaves New York, goes to London, as one does, and gets in with the punk crowd. So she is this biracial girl. She's a girl at the time. Gets in with the punk crowd and starts to hang out with members of the Slits. She befriends Ari Up, who's the Slits are a huge group at the time, blending ska and punk and reggae and all of that to the point. So Neneh starts to perform in these groups. And so she shows up in 1981, is kind of in Europe the first time that Neneh starts to appear on songs. So she's on My Love with the New Age Steppers, and all of these groups overlap. So like the Slits are doing a thing, but they with another group. So they're on that album. And so Neneh's on the album too. But then she joins a group called Rip, Rig, and Panic. They become a whole thing in Europe, but they're doing like punk and ska and all of that stuff. And so she's in that. Well, and leading into kind of the way that we know Neneh in the mid 80s, the Wild Bunch. They're one of the big sound systems there. It's just a group of DJs. They do parties everywhere. And she appears on a song called Looking Good, Diving with the Wild Bunch, where Neneh is rapping on it. It gets heard by another DJ and they decide to remix that song. And that song ultimately becomes what we know as Buffalo Stance. And that's the first time I think both you and I discover Neneh Cherry. What do you remember about seeing Buffalo Stance? Because you probably saw the video before you heard the song. What do you remember about that song?
Okay. So let me first say this. I'm so glad that you gave that backstory on Neneh, on her childhood, and the path that her parents took her on, which ultimately led her to being a badass rock star. I have to admit, in a moment of transparency, Jerry, sometimes when I hear stories like that, sometimes I kind of wish I grew up like that. Because I feel like it just automatically it makes you cooler,
Right.
and it automatically, I don't know, ups your skill in whatever it is you do. But I just find that kind of life fascinating. Now I know, it probably would not have worked out for me because my personality, I'm very type A. I like
You don't want to be in
structure.
the VW bus touring, Sir Daniel?
Nah, not as an adult. I'm sure as a child, when I was a lot shorter, it would have been fine, but not as an adult. But fast forward to, I think, about '89, I recall distinctly seeing this video on Video Music Box. Because remember, as I've said numerous times, we did not have cable in Brooklyn at that time, or at least I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time that I saw music videos was on Friday Night Videos or Video Music Box, hosted by Ralph McDaniel. And this video would play only at the beginning, would only play on Fridays because that's when he would do all hip hop on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I just remember being struck at how colorful the video looked. Um, I could automatically tell this has a UK feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Before I even heard her, I saw the visuals and I was like, this isn't giving Elmhurst, Queens. This is definitely from across the pond. And I immediately liked it because, as I've mentioned before, I've always had this attraction to things UK, to
Yeah.
British pop, all of that good stuff. And so just remembering how vibrant the video was. Um, her flow was ridiculous. Her flow was immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even though, and her look, you can always tell that in the UK, when it came to hip hop, they kind of were like just a little bit behind, but when
Mm.
they were put on, as far as their drip is concerned, as far as representing for hip hop, they literally would take like whatever stereotype or whatever the blueprint of b-boys and b-girls was, and they would like crank that up 10 times.
Yeah.
Like they always had a good sneaker on, what they call trainers, a nice velour suit or whatever type of sweats. They love sweats, and I just recall the fashion. And another thing that stuck out to me were those two girls that were dancing back up for her,
Yeah.
that were
Yes.
that were doing the very rigid motions, and and making faces. And I was like, huh, this is a departure from the hip hop that I've come to know and understand here in the United States. But I don't recall ever purchasing the album. I don't know what kept me from buying it, but I do recall enjoying the song. I
Mm-hmm.
do recall the moment that it took off,
Yeah.
and when MTV picked it up, it was no longer just like a hip hop thing, an underground thing. I mean, it was everywhere. And I think that was the summer that we moved to Florida and finally got cable, finally got BET. So I was able to see all of the what became pop crossover hits,
Yeah.
or what was considered pop crossover hits for the MTV audience. and Neneh Cherry was in that mix. You know, Neneh Cherry was in the mix with your Tone Lokes
Yeah.
and your Young MCs,
Hmm.
your Hammers, your Vanilla Ices. You know, in that moment, this is when it was like, oh, hip hop is doing something here.
Yes.
And Neneh Cherry is one of the very few women um with a hip hop background or a hip hop background assigned to her,
Yeah.
because she'll probably tell you that she was not like MC was not just her only title. Like I've
Right.
said in the beginning, she's one of those people that can do both, and do both well.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And you know, I remember vividly seeing the video and having the same feeling you had of
Mhm.
like, ooh, this first of all, the I love a pop sensibility. Like when you can give me a hard thing, but you could like add like some pop cutesy to it.
Yeah.
J Ray is always gonna have like a soft spot for that. And I felt like Buffalo Stance balanced those two things really well. So you had hip hop at its foundation, but the synths on top of it also felt very pop and new wave, which totally into and totally is Nena's background.
And
So,
shout out to the DJ cutting on that
oh
record.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Clean,
Yes,
really clean cuts on that record.
absolutely. So I was immediately a huge fan, and I remember. So back then, Sir Daniel, you'll recall this. Back in the olden days, kids,
The
one,
1900s.
we bought CDs in the store, and I remember this CD was in the long box. And of course,
Mm.
Neneh is on the cover with the wet hair and the big dollar chain medallion, and
Yep.
she's got her biker shorts and the bra on. Look at very 1989. And it was called Raw Like
Raw like
Sushi.
sushi.
I didn't have a reference point for what sushi was, but I knew it sounded cool and I knew she looked
Mhm.
cool and I knew I liked the video. But I will say, what endeared me to her is in my growth as an activist. I distinctly remember when MTV played I Got You Under My
Shut up,
Skin for the first
yeah.
time, and to hear the word AIDS come out of like a rapper's mouth, and that video was dope and she's in all blue, and I'm like, oh, I can be an activist and make music. Like that's a thing you can do. And it was the first time that for me it clicked that it wasn't just all about the music. Like you could do so much more. And I think that was the thing that really endeared me. So she was not only cool, she was not only rapping and singing, she was not only not from here, although she, you know, was living in New York at the time, she was also like, no, I'm speaking up for something that matters. And so it was way deeper for me than just the music when it came to
Yeah.
Neneh.
Awesome.
Yeah, I as we move, so the 90s changed things. So Neneh, of course, shows up at the end of the 80s. Hip hop sounds a certain way,
Hmm.
and everything is moving so quickly. Um
Everything is changing.
everything. Like there's a lot more women on the scene. There's a lot more different kinds of rappers. Like we now have a Tribe Called Quest. We now have leaders of the new school showing up, right? So there's all these different things. And what I absolutely loved is Neneh slipping into this new mode. So she's adopting that jazzy flow and that feel by way of her association with Gangstar. And of course we get the second record, and then it shows up with Sassy, where you got Guru and Neneh on a track together. And then Homebrew shows up where it's, to me, the record that I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, this girl right here is like dope. She's got the she's singing and she's rapping, but you got Guru on it, you got DJ Premier on it. And then you have this sneaky song that we get a video for called Buddy X that shows up.
You know, that Buddy X, first of all, you want to talk about quintessential 90s,
Yeah.
looked like a Gap commercial because everybody had on some form of it literally looked like a Gap commercial because she had every type of woman,
Yes.
shade, shape, size, hair textures, everything. I didn't know at the time what the subject matter of
None
the
of us
song was.
did.
None of us did, and because I was like, huh, you know, clearly she's talking about a dude, and it was the video was very men versus women,
Mhm.
and you know they're kicking around a ball or they're throwing something at each other. I can't remember exactly what, but yeah. So the record it lent to the MTV landscape once again, the MTV soundscape once again. But it wasn't until recently, J Ray, that I got my hands on the Buddy X record, and lo and behold, there are these really dope remixes. There's some really dope house remixes on there. I got to tell you that you would flip for,
Mhm.
but there's also a Jeep remix because you know everything in the mid '90s was about Jeeps and
Yes.
booming in the Jeeps. And there is a remix from an up and coming rapper from Brooklyn who at the time we called Biggie Smalls, but of course we got to know him as the notorious B.I.G. And I was like, hold up, why am I just now finding out about this? This remix is tough. Biggie's verse is quintessential Biggie, but the record is so tough, J Ray. It's so tough, and I want more people to hear about it. That remix is so tough because, you know, at the time, you know, we were East Coast stomping, and
Yes.
it automatically, it hearing somebody sing over boom bap beats is just a treat. You
Mhm.
had people like Neneh singing over beats like that. You had your Lachey's, you
Shout
had
out to
KRS,
Lachey.
you know, you had KRS One's wife, Simone singing over
Mhm.
beats like that. So I that's why that I was attracted to that particular remix and just how it flowed. And of course, Big, you know, being quintessential Big, you know, coming through on the track. He's unmistakable with his flow, and his rhyme is elite. It's just a really dope remix, and also just solidifies how important remixes were to us back in the
Yeah.
90s. That made that song completely different. It was the same subject matter, same
Yeah.
dope subject matter, same, you know, Neneh Cherry doing her thing, but you could drop that in the tunnel, you could drop that and people will rhyme over that in the cipher. It's crazy. I love that.
Yeah, you know what? I hadn't even thought of this, but you are absolutely right. So even when we think about Buffalo Stance, right? The fact that Buffalo Stance is actually a remix of, Looking Good Diving with the Wild Bunch, right? That
Mhm.
idea of a producer or DJ hearing a song and being inspired enough to be like, "Ooh, I
Let me
hear
flip
something
this.
else in
Yeah.
this. Let's see what we can do with it." Matters so much, and we absolutely need more of that. I think in the what are you
In
about to
the
say?
music sphere. No, because when you think about it, if a DJ out in LA did not flip over Tramp, we would have never gotten Push It, the Push
Yeah.
It that we know now.
So I think that is really really important. And when we look at the career of Neneh Cherry, which from the time we get to know her, for her first three albums, her first three solo albums, there's Raw Like Sushi, Homebrew, and then she does Man after that. Um, Go back and check out Man for those people that haven't had it, haven't heard it. It's super dope. But she definitely is an artist that took a break, right? So there's a lull, but she's dropping singles every now and again, mostly in the UK. What's interesting is one of my absolute favorite Neneh Cherry songs happens in her gap, like in her off gap. And it's a song called Twisted Mess that comes out in like 98, 99. It's on a soundtrack called like Best Laid Plans. And we'll make sure that we include that in the description as well. But Neneh essentially takes this gap break where she apparently had been trying to record, it wasn't happening. So she just was like, I don't have to do that, right? And then by the time she resurfaces in the early 2010s as a solo act, she has this renewed vigor about who she is as an artist. But I think what I love so much is throughout her career, there are these genre bending songs that go from punk all the way through jazz. Like one of my favorite Neneh Cherry collab albums is called The Cherry Thing, which is a collaboration between a jazz band, The Thing, and her, which is kind of her really resurfacing.
Hmm.
And you get all of that in the career, right? Because she's not afraid. And so I love that we get to kind of experience that creative freedom. And I think we need to champion more artists being free with how
Yeah.
they navigate their careers and the type of music that they create. Neneh has kind of flown by whatever it is she wants to do. And
Hmm.
there is not a Neneh Cherry project that I don't like. And it's because you're getting Neneh every time you get Neneh.
This conversation just reminds me of that Nena is there is a through line. You can tell her bloodline. Her
Mhm.
bloodline is Khalees.
Yeah.
Her bloodline are the Santigolds.
Hmm.
You know, the Reeses.
Hmm.
People, the women that don't aren't really adhering to anything, anything conventional, but they're forever cool, and they know good music. They know what the people are going to like, and they're always going to give it to you. And so I'm glad that we're taking this time to tip our hats, as it were, to Neneh Cherry, and just round out well, I don't care. Black women's is Black
Black
Women's
Women's
History
History Month.
Month, International Month, with Neneh Cherry. So
Yeah.
I hope this reaches her, and I hope that she knows that these two blokes here on the stateside really have dug what she has done over the years, the years, and just really wish the best for her. And thank you, J. Ray, for insisting that we big up Neneh Cherry.
Oh man, no, Sir Daniel. Thank you for saying no. That this is something that we should do, and thank y'all for tuning in to Q Points. Let us know what your favorite Neneh Cherry song is, whether it's her solo or her with other folks. And let us know if you're just discovering her because you heard about her on Q Points. We want to know that too. But
Mhm.
thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you could see our faces and hear our voices, go ahead and hit the subscribe button wherever you are. If you enjoy Q Points, chances are your friends, family, colleagues will enjoy the show too. Visit our website at qpoints.com. We encourage you to become a member and support Q Points because your support helps us to keep being able to do shows like this and support artists like this that we love. And you can become a member by just clicking the membership button at the website. While you're there, you can listen to all of the archive episodes of Q Points. There are lots and lots of things to tune into, just like this. And you can shop our store at store.qpoints.com. And you can check us out on Substack, where we have a lot of other content. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all.
That's right. And like I said, at the end of every episode, in this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you could let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel,
And my name is J Ray, y'all.
and this has been Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round. Looking good, hanging at the Wild Bunch.
Peace out, y'all.